Hey everyone, welcome to Blooming Change. This is rebloom.news' interview series where we interview people who we believe are making a positive impact in the world of sustainability. Just as a reminder, rebloom.news is a newsletter that offers advice, inspiration, and actionable items to live more consciously with the planet, and you can subscribe below. So today we're talking with Ian. Hey Ian.
Hello.
We're talking all about sustainable packaging. So Ian is the creative director of Guacamole Airplane, a South San Francisco-based design studio focused on sustainable packaging. So they offer different services like structural packaging design, graphic design, and sustainability consulting. So Ian, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. Thank you, Meredith. Thanks for having me on your blog. I run a studio along with Marissa Sanchez Dunning called Guacamole Airplane. We're pretty much fully focused on sustainable packaging. So about half of our work is packaging design, thinking about structure and dye lines and actually prototyping and building packaging. And then the other half is consulting around sustainable packaging, helping brands switch to more sustainable packaging strategies.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited to dive into this a bit because I feel like this is a topic that a lot of people have heard about, but don't necessarily know a lot about. And since you're an expert, I would love to just pick your brain a little bit on your experience and a few different things. So to start off, the name of your studio really grabbed my attention, Guacamole Airplane. So why did you name the studio that?
Well, it came from an old Ed Ruscha painting, and liked the idea almost a little bit of as a joke at the beginning, but did like the image of something like an airplane, something modern and beautiful, created by something like an avocado, something organic and tactile, and threw a couple names around, but kept coming back to Guacamole Airplane. We even though it's a little bit silly, thought it would be like a really good litmus test for clients. Like if they were cool with working with a studio with such a weird name, they'd probably have an open mind to some more out there design solutions. So it's sometimes I can't believe we named it that, but
I love it. It immediately got my attention. I was like, wow, that's such a cool name. Your logo is great. And I'll make sure I link the website below so people can click in and check it out too. So that's awesome. So for people who might not know what sustainable packaging is, could you just sort of explain to us what makes packaging sustainable?
Yeah, there's no one thing. There's a lot of different things that go into it. When we're thinking about sustainable packaging in the studio, we think about material choices, and we think about manufacturing, the energy footprint and toxicity in manufacturing. In the design of a package, we really think about minimizing its volume and weight, and that'll really have huge carbon footprint implications in shipping. And then, we think about its end of life. We want to make sure there's a pathway for recycling or reuse or kind of realistic composting in certain cases. And, design is really like the place where all of those sustainability considerations in packaging are decided. Like it's through form and materials and finishes and sourcing and manufacturing, you're going to make decisions that touch on all of those above things. And sustainability can be like a bit of an overused term, and I to be fully honest, have some problems with the word, and have debated back and forth if we should even call ourselves a sustainable packaging studio. Realistically, what we're trying to do is design packaging with the smallest footprint we can, and still make sure it works, it's delightful, it's effective, it's beautiful. Everything you do is going to have some sort of footprint, and even the projects that we're most excited about, they're far from perfect.
Mm-hmm. So there's really a high demand for sustainable packaging. I feel like on every site, especially this past week, looking through all the Black Friday and Cyber Monday, I'm seeing all these brands say, shipped in compostable packaging, we have only ship in sustainable packaging. So it's really up and coming, and I feel like a lot of brands are starting to transition to this. So what made you want to start your own studio, and what sets you apart from other people that do the same type of work?
Yeah, so I have an environmental science background. I studied environmental science in college, and then throughout my 20s, I worked doing packaging design and graphic design for a series of different brands. And then I had the opportunity to go to graduate school at Pratt in New York and be in their packaging design program, where kind of all my work was experimenting with sustainable materials and in packaging. And so kind of after all that, felt like maybe not ready, but it felt like it was time to take the leap and set up a studio. Yeah, it does seem like what you're saying, there has been a lot of enthusiasm about, sustainability and packaging in recent years. And that's really, really wonderful. Like what that's meant is that there are more manufacturers making sort of these options available, and more brands like willing to invest, or maybe if it's not more expensive, at least take the time to redesign their packaging in more sustainable ways. And that's been great. You asked about like what maybe sets us apart from other studios. I feel like there aren't really too many or really any studios that I know of who are doing exactly what we're doing. Like there are some really like amazing studios out there that we look to and we're in conversation with a lot. I think the sustainability world in design is like uniquely not competitive. I think people are pretty collaborative. There's a studio called Celery here in Berkeley that we got a lot of advice from when we were getting started, and they're focused on sustainability more in kind of the social justice world. There's another studio called the Office of Ordinary Things that does amazing work with sustainable design, but more around art direction and branding. I mean, that the list goes on and on. Another person who's been sort of instrumental in my education is an artist named Ethan Estes, through his design process is telling stories about the environment. And yeah, there are so many, like every studio's like background and their process and their interest are going to come through in their work. And every studio is going to be different no matter what. Design's so expressive. So yeah, that's I don't know if that answered your question. It was kind of a ramble, but
No, I love that. I feel like, yeah, a lot of insight into your history and what brought you to owning a studio now and doing such great work. So, I mean, going through your website, you talk a lot about your suppliers and the type of materials that you use. And you're pretty transparent, which I feel like is a newer thing in the industry, with brands being so transparent with consumers. So what made you decide to be so transparent with all the suppliers that you use now?
yeah. So what you're referencing is our supplier guide. If you go to our website, guacamoleairplane.com, there's a packaging supplier guide, and that initially started just as like a document for Marissa and myself to keep track of all the different packaging suppliers that we might use for a project. And it had grown quite a bit, and it was such a great resource that we sort of had the idea earlier this year, well, what if we made this visual and we put it online for everyone to see. And anytime a brand or a studio or an individual is like making a decision to share their knowledge, there's always that trade-off where you're like, is this, am I going to lose business because of this? But the world might really benefit. And, if we thought of all the people we were inspired by and got help from, the precious plastic movement was something that really gave me a lot of education as I was getting into sustainable design, and they're fully free and open source. They share all of their information. And even things like the Whole Earth catalog are, really just amazing references to look at 50 years later, that are maybe not free, but are affordable and full of great information. So yeah, we felt like we wanted to contribute to that history of sharing knowledge, and this is
Yeah.
a small way of doing it.
I love how you said that the sustainability industry in general seems to be less competitive than a lot of other capitalistic type of, business layouts and different things like that, which I totally agree with, because I feel like we're all behind one cause, which is lowering our impact and, securing the longevity of the earth that we live on, because it's not promised. So I feel with sustainability, people aren't coveting and, hiding their secrets, because we're all having this human experience and it's all at jeopardy. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I commend you on making your supplier guide open. And I think it can only do more good in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. It's interesting to see, like, there's probably been no other time in history where like manufacturers or brands have been like more open with their intellectual property, with a new material that they're developing. And there is always, I know it's a trade-off for them, and as well as ourselves. You have to like keep enough to stay in business, but people seem to be sharing like more and more to sort of get the word out there and get people excited about what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important. So, lastly, from a consumer's perspective, right? So all these people, they're like, great, I love sustainable packaging. I want to support it, but like, I don't have a brand that I would want to use sustainable packaging for. So as a consumer, how can we be a more conscious consumer and be smart about what we purchase? How can we pick the best sustainable packaging? Do you have any tips for like what to look for when people are out shopping for their own packaging for the holidays or gifts or anything relating to that?
Yeah, there is. Our website's probably a little like maybe more catered to designers, might not be like what the average consumer wants to read, but there is a company we've worked with before called Lumi. They're like a great packaging company, and they have a website called Slash Packaging that I think is, the audience of them is more for that. It's just more like that the everyday person, and they have this great directory of brands who are trying to design their packaging to be more sustainable, and they also go in and sort of give their own analysis of what sustainability strategies the brands are using and why they're working. So yeah, I would definitely check out. I think it's just /slash packaging.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely link that below and in the blog too. So it'll all be there so you can click in if they want to get some tips there. But Ian, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today about packaging, and I can't wait to share you on the platform.
Great. Thank you, Meredith. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.